So welcome to the UpLevel Podcast, Mar. Thank you for saying yes and bringing your specific wisdom to this topic of the ROI of coaching in the workplace.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Let's just jump right in because there's a lot of different areas that I want to make sure we get to today. But let's actually start with your origin story. How coaching found you or how you found coaching.
Okay. What's a long story?
What's the bottom line?
Yeah, let's do the bottom line.
The headlines.
So coaching found me. I actually don't know which one came first, but when I was about 37 years old, living in California with 3 children under the age of 5.
Wow.
As a trailing spouse, my husband, we had moved to California because my husband got a job there. And I had been a lawyer before I had kids.
Wow.
And I found myself in the park with nannies and small children most days, just because most people, including women, work in that area where we lived. And so sort of asking myself, like, now what?
Yeah.
You know, what do I want to be and who do I want to be in addition to being a spouse and a mother and a friend? And so that's when my husband, who was actually working for CTI at the moment, invited a colleague. And we were talking about, my future and my life. And then she asked me the question, Mar, what do you want? And I just remember getting very emotional at the time. And I didn't really understand why. But it really just touched me so deeply. And my mind was racing and there were so many thoughts and answers that I could have given, but I think that the one that stood out at the time was like, well, I get to want something.
Yeah.
So in addition to these roles and fulfilling responsibilities with love, of course, but like, wait a minute, I get to author something here. I get to want something.
Wow.
And so that's when the door kind of opened.
Yeah.
Towards trying to figure out, so what do I want?
So
I get to want something. Yeah.
A powerful question at dinner.
Yeah.
Like literally, like you said, opened a door. It offered you a different way to hold yourself in that moment.
Yeah. And it's such a simple question, right? But it was such a profound question at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And also asked with so much love and compassion by a woman who I had never really met before, or maybe once before. But so it was, it was life-changing. And so that put me on the path of like, well, I don't know what I want, so I'm going to figure that out. And I signed up for the CTI coach training. And and that put me on the path of really discovering coaching and becoming a coach and just discovering this very, very rich work and beautiful community.
And that was 2 decades ago-ish?
Almost.
Almost.
That was
15?
that was in 2008.
2008. And and if you think about now where your focus is, and I want to dive into, you are one of the first coaches that integrated coactive with adult stage development and agile transformation inside organizations. So let's talk about that. Let's like, what do those words actually mean for folks who don't maybe even know, agile transformation, coactive, like what is it now that one question, which was such a catalyst, where is it taking you, and how are you making this work real in the world?
Yeah. So again, I'll try to bottom line. But I think ever since I started on that path and became a coach and did the coach training, I've always been very interested, not just in the coaching, but also how it interconnects with other fields of study or practices that we sometimes work with as coaches. For example, the leadership circle. When I found that, I became very interested in this tool that helps people understand like what their impact is in the world by how they show up.
Yeah.
And what they learn about what their mindset is, whether it's a reactive mindset, creative, maybe even integral, and how that impacts their leadership, their leadership effectiveness. So when I did that training, I got very excited. I was mapping kind of the coactive model and coactive skills and principles and tools to the leadership circle during the training. And because we thought, if you just practice more listening and asking questions, then surely your relating would go up, right? And if you become very aware of your saboteurs and your limiting beliefs, then you can learn to manage these reactive tendencies that you have. So this was sort of like a passion project. This is something I could get very geeky about, and just. I remember talking to my husband about that sometimes, who was also a coactive coach and certified in the leadership circle. And he would be like, okay, honey, yes. And I thought it was just so interesting how you could map the two. And then at some point, a request from a large biotech company who was in the midst of an agile transformation came that they wanted to do something for their leaders, where their leaders would get trained in coaching skills, but it had to be linked to the leadership circle as well. And it had to be a catalyst of working in this agile environment. And so that ended up on my desk, and I just ran with it because I was like, I've been working on that for years. This is great.
You were like the perfect person. You'd been geeking out on this for years already. So it was like, hello, here I am. I'm ready to spearhead this. Yeah. And you've been doing it since, did it start in 2000? Before 2001? You won awards in 2001. How long has this project been going?
So 21.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. 2021. Yeah.
Not quite that long. Yeah. So we're still doing this work at the same company, and training leaders in coaching skills in support of really their leadership development, becoming aware of how can they develop their creative mindset and overcome and integrate some of these reactive tendencies. And yes, some of the teams actually of the organization were rewarded by the International Coach Federation, or got a specific or special mention for one of the a couple of years ago, where they had the yearly coaching awards of organizations that do something really special with coaching and implement that in an impactful way, which they definitely did. So
yeah. What's it like for you to be one of the main catalysts of this specific work in this specific organization?
I'm finding a bit of a discomfort with being called the main catalyst, because it's really been a team effort. It sprouted from an idea, all that's true, but I'm standing on the shoulders of so many colleagues and other people in my life who have been cheering me on and helping me create this really together. And the organization itself, I would say too.
Yeah.
For seeing that their leaders needed coaching skills to become better leaders and to have an even bigger impact in the world than they already have. So it's been really fun and really humbling. Mm-hmm. And when I go back to that first question, like, what do you want? Mm-hmm. That's a question that I ask myself now, and I keep kind of following the next shiny piece or the next thing that I think is interesting and would also be helpful for our clients.
I'm hearing like, community, collaboration, connection. Like these are all things that you do really well. You are a model for that and the work that you're creating. And specifically, you mentioned this a bit, but this is something I've observed in you over the years, the way you build relationship with your organizational clients, the way you hold them, the way you honor them, their work, what they need to do in order to get the coach training and the creative leadership into their organization. Like you have a lot of patience, respect, curiosity with them so that they can be the catalyst of change inside their organization. Can you share a little bit? Like there's people who are listening who are either that person inside their organization, like they want to meet Amar and they want to partner they want to partner to do something like this, or maybe they're doing it and you could give them some tips and like what's an effective vendor and client, organizational client relationship look like? I just think you do so well.
So that's a big question.
It is.
Yeah, I think you use the word partner, and I think for me that's key. You're partnering on something, so you're partnering and you're starting on a journey together, and it's for the long haul. And sometimes you have to take a step back from things that maybe aren't actually right for you as a vendor to do, because there's other people who can actually do that better, for example.
Yeah.
So then and then you share that with your client, because what you want for your client is to have the best possible outcome for them. And so I think there's partnership, there's generosity that's really important. So don't be territorial. Collaborate with colleagues. If you feel like they have wisdom to share or value to contribute, you do that. And my experience is that actually does pay back. So it's we don't have to be nonprofit organizations. We can still make a living, but have our main focus and purpose be that partnership and generosity and value create, like the triple win, kind of the value creation for all parties involved.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so I always say to my colleagues who ask, like, well, what do you recommend? I have this new client and I really think they could benefit from doing a collective fundamentals or coaching skills for business leaders. And I always say, well, what's actually the desired outcome? Like what is it that they want and what is it that they need?
Yeah.
And how can you contribute to that? And then you might actually find that they need something else first. But so we deliver a product, but we really need to place it in the context of the business reality of our clients. I think that's the most important thing. And one of the founders of CTI, I remember he would always say, like, context determines content. It's like you have a bowl of water and you drip some red dye in it, and now it's red, and you put some blue dye in it, and now it's still the same water, but it looks different, and the experience is different. Yeah. And so you start with the context, and you let that determine the content, not the other way around. Because I know as coaches, sometimes we can also be a little bit like, what do you call that? On the pedestal and preaching.
Yeah.
That, other people need this work. And I'm like, well, maybe a version of it, maybe not exactly the way it looks right now, but you got to make sure that it's relevant for them first.
And that's so important. That's what that generosity piece. It's like you're not listening just to force your product on them or what you have to offer, because they might need something very different or customized.
Exactly.
Maybe something you have, but it's going to be designed for them. And with this one biotech organization, it feels like you've really customized a product that really met their needs.
The products is still the same. I would say the content is still the same because it's an ICF accredited program, and so we can't take anything out because that would change the accreditation piece. But we've made it relevant for creative leadership and for the leadership circle. So how do coaching skills and the coactive model support the move from reactive to creative?
Yeah.
And how does it foster relationship, first of all? And coaching skills like listening and asking questions and being curious. And that all contributes to being in a relationship with people, obviously. But also skills like values and becoming aware of your saboteurs or your limiting beliefs. That helps you with being more authentic as a leader. And authenticity is one of the creative competencies in the leadership circle. So the program, the content is really presented in a way that people leave the program and understand how they can apply those skills in service of being more effective as a leader.
And in a creative state versus a reactive state. Yeah, so it's like, how do I basically activate more of my creativity? Which let's talk about that in the context of the times that we're living through, because we know the past 4 years, there's been an unprecedented amount of change, crisis. You and I were speaking about the polarization, which has created its own trauma. And so what's important about more organizations investing in developing creative leadership?
And this is the leadership circle research done so well that and they show that when people are more creative, coming from a creative mindset, which by the way is so values and purpose driven, it's like leading inside out. So starting with what's inside, what are my values, what's my sense of purpose, how do I create a vision from that, and how do I take a courageous stand for that, as opposed to living reactively, which is fear-driven. So that's where the limiting belief or assumption sort of takes hold of you and how you think. And your behavior is basically focused on making that threat go away. Yeah. So the reactive isn't bad, first of all, because there's a gift in it. It's just that when we apply our gift in service of fear, then we come across as reactive. It leads to polarization, and we're mainly concerned about ourselves. Versus creative, we're mainly concerned about living inside out. Concerned about our communities. We're very self-aware. We're able to be in relationship with others and achieving results. Yeah. And so the impact on effectiveness for leaders is it's much higher, whereas the canceling out effect of reactive leadership. So that's the business case, I would say. And when you apply the same principles to our current world, I would say the same thing applies. It's like when we are aware, for example, of our limiting beliefs and assumptions, we can also catch ourselves. Yeah. And we can recover to maybe more values and purpose driven by being curious. Like, what's going on with me? Why do I feel like this? Why do I want to demonize this other person who disagrees with me? Yeah. And then maybe in that split second, catch yourself, be curious, and then recover to a more creative mindset where we can stay in a relationship with other people and talk about our differences, but without making the other person wrong. We can still think that they're wrong, but we don't have to make them wrong.
This is so important for the times we're living through. It's it is the up level. It is what is needed for, I think, humanity to move forward, and not in a way where we're just surviving, we're just treading water, but so we can be healthy, mind, body, spirit, so that our organizations can thrive, and there's still a long way to go. You've got great stories of organizations who are deploying this. UpLevel has some, other colleagues have some, but there's still so many companies that are still not investing in their most valuable resources, their humans, in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they're doing coach training, but it's more like check it off the box. It's not something they're going to experience. It's something maybe they're going to listen to a module or read something, but it's not going to be like an embodied experiential experience. So if there's listeners out there, like, what would you say to them about what's worth making this greater investment? Because it's a time investment. We understand you're taking people out of their role. And then, of course, it's a bigger financial investment than maybe some kind of webinar or something like that. What would you say to them?
I would say that investing in your employees in this sense, helping them gain some coaching skills and ways of being in relationship with others will hugely benefit your organization. Because whatever happens, whatever transformation you go through, or whatever VUCA environment you find yourself in, all of a sudden, how people relate and work together will make a huge difference for the outcome. It's like the metaphor I like to use is one of a bicycle. Dutch, so I I like bicycles.
You like bikes?
Yeah, exactly. And so think about sort of like the gear shifting, right? And it's like, for example, when an organization goes through transformation, it's like the gears are shifting. There's sort of strain on the chain, and where coaching comes in, I think, is just the lubricant in the gears. There's so much tension on that chain and on the gears, but having the skills to deal with that, or having the lubricant in the gears, will make that go easier and at a lower cost to the organization, or or to the bike.
Yeah.
So people are hired to do a job. The assumption is that they actually know how to do that job. I mean, if they don't know how to do it, and that's an issue in and by itself.
Yeah.
But how do people work together when they do their job?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really the how to the what and the why. And this is something that one of the participants in one of our programs said. A senior HR professional. It was one of the first programs we did for this organization. And he said, now I understand where this sits. This is the how to the what and the why. Because the why was clear. It was the company purpose. People could really get behind.
Mm-hmm.
They were also clear on what they needed to do. They had to be more creative, have a creative mindset. And the what was the agile ways of working. They knew they had to, but how do we do that?
Yeah.
And can you teach me how to do this? Or after doing a leadership circle debrief, like, are you my coach now? Can you keep working with me on how to be more creative as a leader? And then some people within an organization said, no, we should be able to have these conversations together. It's great to have coaches too. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But really, we should be able to have these conversations together.
Yeah.
So if we just listen a little bit longer, ask a couple of more powerful questions, are a little bit more curious, and consciously design alliances together, you'll notice that you'll achieve more results. The workplace will be more humane and a better place to work. People are more intrinsically motivated. They feel like they belong. And that's the payoff of, I think, of coaching, and also teaching leaders coaching skills.
That's it right there. There's the ROI of coaching in the workplace. Yeah. You just said it so elegantly, so beautifully. That's it. Is there a specific coaching skill or concept that's your favorite that you've just been like, this one, I would, want every single human to know this and practice this one?
Well, I have two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
One is very practical. It's designing an alliance, which is our language for co-creating how you're going to be working together, and not so much in terms of who does what and what are the outcomes that we want to create, but really like how can I get the best out of you? And here's what you need to know about me. Sometimes I get really reactive, and what you'll notice is I just go distant. And here's what I'd like you to do when that happens. So it's like the how will we do what we need to do,
and who will we be? Who will we be while we do it together? And it's my favorite one too. Yeah. I think that if organizations even just deployed Designed Alliance, trained everybody how to do this, it would drastically change our business outcomes, the work environments, the levels of engagement. And that there was a business practice where it's not just when we first start working together or when we just start a new project, but it's almost it's baked in, like how we have other structures and organizations baked in, but the Designed Alliance conversations, like every 3 months, temperature check. How are we doing on, you told me this is how I bring out the best in you, and how have I been doing with that? Or and this is where you can provide feedback, developmental feedback to each other, and to keep improving the relationship. So I'm with you on that. I want to see more of that in the workplace. What's your second favorite?
Second favorite is curiosity.
What is it? What is it about curiosity?
Curiosity is, so someone said it's, you can't be anxious and curious at the same time. And I think it's kind of true. I've tried to be both. But as soon as when you're feeling anxious and you turn on your curiosity, it's the antidote to anxiousness, I think, in a way, because you actually, anxiety lives in you and your focus is on you. And then when you really get curious about something outside of you, then it kind of shifts your attention away. And when you can be curious without judgment, I think, and again, looking at our polarized world, I think people could be a little bit more curious about each other, first of all, probably also themselves. What's going on with me that I feel so, that I get so angry or feel so strongly. And be curious about, what's going on for other people, and try to understand their why. And this was taught to me by probably my mother, who used to say, if I would be complaining about something or someone, she used to say, well, I can tell that that's really painful for you or hurting you, but they probably had a reason for saying this or doing that. Wow. And I didn't always like it when she said that, because I was like, I'm not interested in that reason. But that I just that really plays in the back of my mind sometimes. Like I wonder what their experience is. What's it like to be you? Also, when I don't necessarily, and I sometimes it's easier said than done, of course, but it is such a powerful skill, if we can call it that.
Yeah. It's like when you talk about creative leadership, it feels like curiosity is at the core of that. It's building the muscle to be curious, and that keeps us open and expansive to new ideas. And we don't have to be right all the time or the one that has all the answers. So then it can lead to innovation and more creation. Exactly. Well, I love that. And I love that you brought your mom in, because I wanted to ask you, when you think about, you told us about the one colleague that really helped open the door of coaching for you, but like, Who else on your journey has exhibited like coach-like qualities? And what are some of those qualities that, well, like you just shared, your mom was curious and it really inspired you?
So, well, let's start with Henry Kimseyhouse, my friend and one-time mentor, who's wildly curious. And you can just see it in his eyes and his whole persona. And he just wants to know everything and understand everything and help you learn about yourself. And in a childlike way, almost like he's the king of curious, I would say. And then I think just a whole bunch of my colleagues that I'm currently working with in conversations, they'll just ask this one question, like, what is it that you want? Or they'll do an articulation around what I'm experiencing, and everything just stops in its tracks. I'm currently working with some colleagues on creating a website. And so I've been avoiding that for the longest time. And they called me forth. They said, Mar, it's time. We're going to collaborate with you on this. And we had a brainstorm session last week, and there were some great coaching questions asked.
Wow.
So it's hard for me to mention names, actually, because I feel like mentioning names, I wouldn't do justice to some of the people that I've been in conversation with, that I've also learned a lot from. And I find I'm very fortunate to be in this community of coaches where even a Thursday afternoon conversation can turn into a bit of a coaching session just from one or two questions. And that's exactly what we're trying to teach leaders.
Yes.
Right? I want to underline that. We're not training your leaders to become coaches. No, we're training them to be able to ask the right question at the right time.
Yeah.
And to be a little bit more curious.
A little more curious. And that's what I hear when you talk about all those different people in those different contexts. It's like they embody the curiosity, they embody asking curious questions that like the impact on you is that like you're then collaborating, connecting, being included, creating, innovating, right? And this is like what you said, this is what we're after. This is the ROI of coaching. That's what ends up happening.
Yeah. It's really practicing these skills, making them your own, and integrating them into your day-to-day life, whether it's at work or at home. I want to mention one other person who has had a tremendous impact on me with his coaching skills, my husband, who's also a coactive coach. And I know spouses aren't supposed to coach each other, but he has asked me some questions over the years. And the one thing, and this is also a great coaching skill, is calling someone forth. And he knows me better than anyone probably. So when I go in my reactive mode, or my saboteurs are getting behind the wheel and making decisions for me, he'll point that out.
I think in my ideal world, everyone is trained in these skills because they're beautiful. They're relationship skills. So in our intimate partnerships, in our business partnerships, with our children, parenting, with our parents, parenting upwards, obviously in the workplace. And so thanks for bringing in, like, in the context of personal relationships, because this is about really hearing people deeply, seeing people deeply, calling them forth to maybe like a vision of themselves that they can't even get to, because like you said, we can block ourselves with our reactivity. So
and fear.
Yay to that.
And I love that you say that coaching skills are relational skills, because they are. They're we kind of harness them in this coach training program, but they're not only in that coach training program. These are all things that we already do to a degree, just not consciously.
Right.
And when you start to do it consciously, you can be in better relationship with yourself first of all, I would say. You become more self-aware as well. From that place, be in better relationship, in conscious relationship with the people around you, the people in your life, and ultimately with the world that you live in as well. And
that's
so
that's what we want.
Yeah. And that's what we want. And that's, I think, what our work is about, but it's also what life is kind of about.
Yes.
Yeah. And anything that improves that, those relationships and feeling of belonging, I think is incredibly valuable.
Mar, if you have like a vision, I feel like we've been inside the past 15, 16 years of your vision from that one moment, which has been super helpful and so much wisdom. And if you're going to point us into the future now, and in the context of the ROI of coaching, and not just in the workplace, because we've been speaking it, in all of our relationships, where will you point us? What do you want for our worlds, our workplaces, our humanity?
Wow. What do I want for the world? I think more listening, less polarization, more connecting. I think that if that can be at the heart of how we operate, and from that place create our organizations, our political parties, our countries. So that's the high dream, right? I mean, I think ultimately that's probably what most people would want.
Yes.
And then if I look at my share in that, I'd love to keep doing actually what I'm doing, but start integrating even more bodies of work into it, to connect it. Like now, I've recently done the KPI training, the Key Polarity Indicator, by Endiron, and it teaches you about how to navigate polarities. And then again, when I was going through that training, I thought, oh, actually, the pole you're attracted to is probably informed partly by the values that you hold dearly, and the one you must stay away from is probably partly informed by your saboteurs and what you can't be with. So again, there's that overlap of some of the stuff we already do through our coach training programs and this other body of work that I think would actually strengthen each other.
Mm-hmm.
So to make it even more powerful when it's actually offered in combination, and then to offer that to organizations, maybe governments.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Like all systems need this, and like I'm really appreciating your ability to connect. And obviously, we know you're connecting people and communities, but it's these ideas and these models, and deepen them so that more of the whole human can be accessed, and then they can bring more of their full self into whatever context, right? Whatever we're talking about.
Yeah. I think it's I like the word you use, whole, because it's wholeness is a word that holds a lot of meaning for me. And it's about becoming whole again. I think in my journey through coaching, I became more whole. And I'm sure there's still pieces I'm searching for. But there were pieces of me that I didn't think I had, or I think I'd lost them, or that it wasn't okay to use them, that I started to integrate again, including my reactive tendencies, by the way, because again, they're not bad. They're just a little like an outdated internal operating system. And I think when people become more whole, it's better for them to feel purposeful and to to make choices in alignment with their values, and to be in relationship with other people from that place. I think it's really hard to be in healthy relationship when you're not feeling whole yourself.
Yes, definitely.
So, yeah.
Mara, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Such wisdom. And I know your website is going to be built, but in the interim, we'll be sure to put this information in the show notes. But where can people find you if they want to learn more about this great work that you're up to?
Yeah, really just I am on LinkedIn, so I'm a bit shy around using social media or professional media like to broadcast what we do. I don't know why. I mean, we probably need some coaching on that. But I've been called forth by some colleagues. So yes, the website's coming, and until then, people can find me on LinkedIn.
Good, and do that,
and
people.
I'm sure you're going to share the. Yeah.
We will. We're going to share your link to your page, and again, thank you for coming and saying yes to this. And there's just so much that we can learn from. And I think for other coaches, consultants who are growing their businesses and wanting to do more work in organization, this conversation, there's a lot of good nuggets. Like, you're a real model for, again, how to be in right relationship with organizational clients. And I'm taking away a lot, but I'm remembering partnership and generosity. Like, that's and so I'm just going to end the conversation there. And thank you so much for being part of mine and Rachel's community and UpLevel's community, and obviously our bigger beyond CTI and coaching community. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I got a lot of energy out of this conversation, and I hope that the listeners will as well.
I know they will.